Da 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 dun da 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 dun da da. It's Cleveland Browns Talk with Steve King from Browns Daily Dose. Kind enough to join us the day after the Todd Monken get together up in Berea. Steve, good afternoon. Happy Wednesday. How are you this afternoon?
I am great. How about you guys?
Doing well. Busy. I mean, boy, I'll tell you what, Steve, I don't know if I could. There is just something about Northeast Ohio, this region of the country. There is never a time where you sit around and go, what am I going to talk about today? There is always something, Steve, and that's why we love what we do, right?
Yeah, you've got the Brown situation, and you've got Darius Garland.
What do you think of that deal?
When I first heard about it, I said that can't be. That just can't be. And the core four is a core four for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
And I think you build upon what you have, as opposed to letting Garland get away. Garland, you watch the games. He is fast. He is fun. That offense moves around him. They need to figure out a way to keep him healthy. That's the key.
Yeah, that's the thing. The old saying, boy, you sure hear it a lot lately. The best ability is availability. And if you can't get out there and play, I mean, no disrespect to whoever the talent is. If I can't count on you to play, if you're not there for me, I mean, what am I going to do? I mean, look at Darius Garland. Look at guys like Anthony Davis and others that are just always getting hurt.
Yeah,
and it's
and they're rolling the dice to try to win a championship. I get that, but if you don't, then you've lost a lot of yourself, and I don't know that you can go back to that core and build upon it with enough other things to maximize Donovan Mitchell's time here.
Yeah, and Steve, it looks like they are. It looks like Jared Allen's close to being dealt today, so we'll keep our eyes on that. So let's go back to the press conference yesterday. Boy, little different than listening to Kevin Stefanski, huh?
Well, yes, and I tell you, what I got out of it was Jim Schwartz. The conversation about him has dwarfed that of the coach.
Right.
You've got a situation there where it's untenable. You come out of you introduce your new head coach, and all the talk is about Jim Schwartz.
Yeah. First 4 questions, I think, if I count correctly, the first 3 or 4 were about Schwartz, and then finally, I think Monken said, "All right, I've had enough." And then he kind of went down that trail of, I didn't come here because of Schwartz. And when I played the Ravens, I wasn't worried about chipping Schwartz. I was trying to chip Myles Garrett. He kind of went all in there. Safe to say then, Steve, I hate to assume, but it looks like this might be a place to do it, that we probably won't see any more of Jim Schwartz in the building.
Yeah, and the Browns have to realize that. Okay, they legally have him, under contract,
mm-hmm.
For next season. Now, do you want a guy like that in your building? Now, if I were Jimmy Haslam, I would have, come to him already and tried to offer him, associate head coach, defense, whatever you want to call it. Throw money, throw titles, throw emotion at him. And if that doesn't work, and then you have to move on, because there is enough work for the new head coach to do that you don't need this soap opera of Jim Schwartz sitting there and I don't want to be here. I hate to see the fact that Jim Schwartz might not and probably won't be the defensive coordinator of that team next season. I mean, that was a fantastic, situation. But hey, you look at what happened over in Pittsburgh when they went against, they went out of the family, so to speak, with, Mike McCarthy.
Mm-hmm.
And so they ended up, leaving or getting rid of all those Steelers assistants that have been around Mike Tomlin for years and years and years. And, new coaches come in, they put the people in that they want, and you move on from that. But, they've got to do something about it, because it has created, a separation. You're setting yourself up for everybody to talk about this until you get it squared away somehow. It's like a quarterback controversy. Nobody cares anything else about the team. The media comes in every day and asks about the quarterback.
Right. Steve King is our guest. Check him out. Browns Daily Dose does a great job of just spreading the musings about the Cleveland Browns, the team, the organization, the history. A lot of great tidbits there. Browns Daily Dose. Steve King is your man. Steve, do you believe that the Haslam / Andrew Berry, or maybe a combination of all of the above, do you think at one point they almost like said, "Hey, Jim, you're probably going to be our coach," or maybe even as far as said, "Hey, we want you to be our coach," and then all of a sudden something changed, and then he was on the top of the list until he wasn't? I mean, do you think there was a promise made there or anything that's the reason he was so upset about it, or is it just things just worked the way they did?
I think he thought, and maybe he was led to believe, or whether that's right or wrong, that he was going to be the head coach, and then all of a sudden it didn't happen. And who knows? Andrew Berry, you ask him a question, what is your name, and you don't get a clear answer, and that is a problem.
Yeah.
When he goes on, the Browns show, or when he sets up and goes on, they had him in during one of the games, and he set up in the press box or radio booth while the game was going on, and gave fluent answers. He was just laughing and giddy and funny and whatever. And when he gets onto the press conference, it's not good. If I'm the Browns, I do everything I can to keep that guy out of the press conference, because he comes off as being surly, disinterested, disparaging, and what's the word I'm looking for? Condescending.
Yeah. And going back to yesterday, he was at the podium for the first 7.5 minutes doing a little introduction / but it turned into analytics word salad. And I just wanted to turn it off, but I knew Schwartz was coming, or Monken was coming at some point, so I had to hang in there. But I'm like, well, Andrew, we could have really done it without all that, and I'm not even sure I understand what he was spitting out there. And then you bring the coach on to follow that, and then Jimmy comes up after that. I'm like, what? Only in Berea. I guess at the end of the day, Steve, we always play the, hey, did he win the press conference, or what would you grade the press conference? I'll go ahead and ask the question. Did Todd Monken win the press conference yesterday?
I will give him credit. And whether he won the press conference or not, I guess that's, win games. I want to see him win games.
Right.
That's what I want to see, how he reacts in road games at Pittsburgh and at Cincinnati and Baltimore, fourth quarter, the game on the line. That's when we'll know about that. But I think he did a good job of, avoiding the Schwartz thing, trying to keep that under wraps, and dealing with, the 15-minute dissertation by the general manager to come in and kind of give a picture of who he is. Kind of a no-nonsense, a congenial, but a no-nonsense guy that is not afraid to speak his mind, is not afraid to make people accountable, and is not afraid to, coach the team the way he sees that fit that it should be coached. And so that you have a guy that, believes in himself. And I like the fact, too, two things that really have not been brought out. Number one, teams all the time are doing self-scouting. They scout themselves, and they come back and say, okay, if we're at Baltimore or Pittsburgh or Cincinnati, when we see the Browns, what do we think? What are the strengths? What are the weaknesses? All the time that happens. Well, here's a guy that really did sat on the other side in a competitive situation for 3 years and looked at the Browns defense and figured out, okay, what can I do? What can I not do? How do I beat them? And now and he heard the offensive coaches, I'm sure, talk about the Browns, defensive coaches talk about the Browns offense. So he knows the Browns inside and out. And that is going to be invaluable going forward, because he doesn't have to, he's not coming from another conference. He's not even coming from another division.
Mm-hmm.
He's coming from that division, number one. And number two, somebody asked him about what kind of offense he's going to run. And his answer was basically, I'm going to run the offense that we score the most points.
Right.
I'm sure he has has it figured out. Well, this is the kind of offense when I get everything set that I would like to run. I believe in this or that or whatever. Well, hey, he's going to get the offense where you get someone in there, that, some way to score points. And, Belichick did a great job of that. And Josh McDaniels did a great job of that, of being a chameleon. Every week of the season, they figured out this is what we need to be this week. Maybe it's pass heavy, maybe it's run heavy, maybe it's defense heavy, this, that. You'll figure out how to win the game because not one size fits all. So I think this is a guy that figures out, okay, if we have to run this week, we're going to run. We're going to pass this week to win. Then we're going to pass. I'm trying to score points to win the game. And I like those two things, and I like the fact that he kind of, like you said, expressed a little bit of being upset with the fact that. He didn't like all this Schwartz talk, but he didn't go over the line. He didn't make it. He didn't go down that path far enough that it just kind of stole everything. The Schwartz thing in itself stole everything, but he didn't perpetuate it any.
Steve King is our guest. Check him out, Brown's Daily Dose. Steve, is Shedeur a Todd Monken kind of guy? Yes or no? Why or why not? And what's the first and next move going to be there?
Well, I'll answer the first part first. I think he is because he's a guy that they wanted to draft in Baltimore. Let's not forget that. And I think that he stopped short of saying anything more about that. But Shedeur wants to win. And Monken, to keep his job, has to win. Now, you tell me what other quarterback options they have that are better than Shedeur Sanders. He didn't do what he did at Colorado through osmosis. With better coaching and with a guy who really understands quarterback play, I think that they've got their quarterback. And boy, wouldn't that help if you had your quarterback, or at least decided that you did,
right?
And you could use all that top half of the draft to draft offensive linemen, to draft wide receivers, and really plug in people on this team in areas where they really need some help.
That's the name of the game.
But
You're right.
I think Shedeur Sanders can be the kind of quarterback that Monken wants him to be because he'll ask him to do that. And there will be, if you're the quarterback, you've got to figure out a way to win that game. Not to throw for 350 yards and 3 touchdowns and all that stuff. You need to figure out how to win a game. The quarterback's most important job is to win the game. And the Bradys and the Joe Montanas and the Terry Bradshaws and the Otto Grahams figured that out. And so that's how you build your resume.
Steve, is there any chance in the world that Deshaun Watson gets an opportunity to get on the field again, to get on the field and show what he can do?
You've hit a nerve with me because let's forget the biggest part of this,
right?
That he can't play any longer. That's obvious. But if a guy can't play and he's just a regular guy, you kind of work around that. But here's a guy who perceptually is not a great person. You can couch it however you want, and maybe I'm stepping on somebody's toes in your audience, and give people a second chance. That was disgusting. That's the goat of disgusting. And so you've got to, at any point, you've got to keep that guy away from your 53-man. Let's go and play roster. To me, there's no way. Now I say that, and coaches are like, we'll step over our mother to get someone who can play. Well, that guy on a team that needs some PR help right now, we all agree that is a PR disaster.
Yeah,
and that would be untenable. Home games would turn into road games because you'd have people rooting against him. You just can't do that. And again, that's another situation in the locker room that a brand new head coach who has a lot to do doesn't need that.
Yeah, I agree.
Doesn't need that at all.
Yeah.
You have to keep him on the roster. Great. Okay, fine. You don't have to play him. There's nothing in that contract says you have to play him. And that is you can't do that. If O.J. Simpson had come back after all that happened and was still in the league, do you think he could have played? He could have been on our team and been a running back? No,
no chance.
No
I just wonder, because you know how the NFL is, Steve. People will literally, they will walk over family members to think, and the fact that, just from what I hear, I don't know. I certainly do not hang around Deshaun Watson, but from what I hear, he is completely healed up from these injuries. He's in the best shape of his life. He's hungry again. We're paying him a ridiculous amount of money. I think it's over $80 million against the cap. And with a new coach coming in, I mean, if Sanders turns out to not be the number one guy at the top of the list, I mean, I think we've seen enough of Dylan Gabriel already. Now you're talking about jumping back into the draft or bringing in a free agent. I mean, I don't know. Look, I certainly don't want to see him out there, but man alive, I just worry that just the possibility of it being there is enough for just to keep the fodder going. And at some point, we have to completely 100% turn the page on number 4.
Absolutely. Now, you'll watch and see what happens. I agree with everything you said. If they go out and they get kind of a Gary Danielson type of guy to kind of hold the seat warm until they feel that Shedeur is ready, or as a fallback plan if he struggles, if he has games that he doesn't play well, then you'll know that Watson is not part of the deal. But if they don't, then the possibility that you put out there exists. Now, these are the same people. It wasn't Kevin Stefanski. It was Andrew Berry with the assistance of Jimmy Haslam. We know that. They can say whatever they want, but we know that. You can't put him out there. You just can't. It's untenable. It's a situation that's going to swallow up the whole team controversially. And you can't have that. You just can't. You do everything you can to win, but there are limits to what you can do, because it'll upset the apple cart on your team. It'll become the bigger story no matter what the team does. Here's Deshaun Watson, the GOAT of what is now playing, starting at quarterback, and you can imagine playing home games. You imagine playing road games. Some of the things people would.
Oh yeah. Oh, it would be. It would be.
You don't need that on your team.
No, the plate is already full. Steve King is our guest. Browns Daily Dose. Steve, one more, and I'll let you run. Let's just say I'm going by what Jimmy Haslam said yesterday. They cast a wide net. Maybe they had it up to 25 candidates. They narrowed it down to 9 or 10. And of course, at the end of the press conference, Todd was our guy. He was at the top all along. Truth serum on a scale of 1 to 10, candidate 1 to 10. Where was Todd Monken on that list?
Maybe in the top 4, maybe in the top 5. But if you let's set all that aside for just a second, and let's just look at his resume and who he is and what he's done. Not a bad candidate, And you saw yesterday he knows what he's doing. He knows how to run a football team. He knows he has a plan. So, you go forward with that. Sometimes you end up with a coach that you didn't expect to get. And you think, oh, geez, that's not good. Well, and he ends up being a better candidate. All kind of history of teams. Oh gosh, we really got the guy we wanted, and he doesn't work out. And somebody thinks, well, gee, maybe we should have. Candidate B came in and really gave us a good interview. Maybe we should have stuck with him. So I don't know. The more you hear about Todd Monken, apart from the Schwartz stuff and a part of everything else, you kind of like that candidacy. I think they were lucky to get him. Think about this: if they had not gotten him, what would they have done? So if I'm to be totally honest, if I'm a Buffalo Bills fan, or a Pittsburgh Steelers fan, I'm upset about those two hires because you got Mike McCarthy. I don't think he's wowing anybody over in Pittsburgh with his presence. And you've got the problem with the Bills. They had a guy, Josh Allen, needed to be more efficient in big moments. Well, who was the guy who was coaching him? Joe Brady. Who does his head coach, Joe Brady?
Yeah, Joe Brady.
So you perpetuated a problem.
Yeah.
So if I'm in Buffalo and Pittsburgh, I'm not happy.
Yeah.
If I'm in Cleveland, at least you can have this to go forward and just see what happens.
It will be interesting for sure. I can't remember an NFL year, Steve, where there were so many coaching firings and hirings in one calendar year. It's nuts. It's almost as well as the NBA trade deadline. Steve, I always appreciate your candor. And like I said at the beginning, there's always something to talk about. I'm sure we'll rattle your cage here down the road soon. And I appreciate you coming on again today. Thank you, sir.
Always my pleasure. Thanks, Sam.
Steve King, Browns Daily Dose. Check him